Quietly. So there are still many people talking. Abby, Jay.
I didn't say that word.
I don't see everyone's hands.
I don't know.
I got one. And if it's correct, I'm not going to know.
Alright, we're gonna do 3.
Wait, what's my doing? Oh, no,
Still waiting on everyone's eyes right here. For number 3, we need to find the solution to this system. There are 3 ways to solve systems of equations. How do we want to solve this?
So one, there's like a line.
I heard substitution.
The easiest way there is.
Okay. Do we want to solve for x or for y?
X.
Okay. How would we solve for this x? Plug the equation. Add 2y. So 5 plus 2y equals x. What would we do with this? Not add it to.
I'm gonna put it in X.
Put it into.
Yes.
So 3 times 5 plus 2y plus y equals 6. And then distribute. So we have 15 plus 6y plus y equals 6. When we combine these, we get 7. How would we solve this for y?
Subtract 15.
Subtract 15. And when we do that, we get what? So in this case, when we solve for y, we're going to get some weird fraction or decimal.
Yeah. It's negative 1.2, but if you round it, it's negative 1.
Okay. So negative 1 point whatever that is, or negative 9/7. And then we need to solve for x. So we need to put this back into our equation. X equals 5 plus 2 times negative 9/7.
Does it final?
Man, that was easy.
In the calculator, go ahead and multiply 2 times negative 9/7.
No, let me do it, please. Negative 18/7.
And then also in your calculator, subtract 5 minus 18/7.
Oh, what is it? Oh. 18.
17/7.
Ah, dang it.
17/7. So that means our ordered pair is 17/7 and negative 9/7.
Oh.
And good.
No, the decimal is right. I just put it in the decimal.
If you did decimal, that's fine too.
I got 9,2.
Decimal. So make sure you have this answer for number 3. And then pass up your answer sheets. Take out your solving inequality sheet from last class. I do have some extras if you cannot find yours.
Finish it right now.
The homework,
But I
right?
need you to be quiet.
This is this.
The magic one?
Oh, it's this. Oh, I love you.
Alright, listen.
Justin, come here.
Jay, be quiet.
I made it.
Right, you missed it. Then you missed it.
It's so brave. Okay. Hey, no, it's not. Look.
It is. I can see.
Why did that bring up
She can see your dog.
She
I
would.
mean, it's in there now. Okay, you guys are going to have about 25 minutes to work on this. I was trying to remember how long I gave for the test. After that, 25 minutes. If it is not done, it's homework.
Wait,
What's the
I thought you were about to say lap.
I'll answer your questions when everyone is quiet. I'll answer your questions when everyone is quiet. Yes.
But shut up, I was please. Whoa. I didn't know what I have to do.
Be quiet.
Right now you are working on this sheet, the one around the room. If you need clipboards, they are back there.
How do you do this at home?
You're gonna have to take pictures.
I take
So
pictures.
for the next 25 minutes, you should be working on this.
Check every pocket in your backpack.
Robbie folded in my shirt, so. Josh.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's my
I
shirt.
need you to give that back. No, go back to your seat. Go back to your seat.
Why are we losing my iPod all the time?
There you go.
It's the most stressful thing there is in this
And then
world.
you find it in a random spot.
Okay. So, Kobe, I hope you find it. For this, we are now graphing inequalities. You do not have these.
No. Did you pass them out today? Oh, I'm done. I found them.
It's probably actually pretty good now.
Alright, so for these, we are now graphing inequalities, but they're not going to be how we were graphing them before. We're going to talk about this part just to relate it. How would you read this in words?
Did I leave my lab?
And words.
X number is greater than 3.
Oh man, I can't see from here either. Oh, alright.
Miss Thorpe, I lost my lab paper. I'm gonna get another one. I'm sorry. Can I take pictures of these real quick? No, you can
What numbers would be solutions to this?
Infinite amount of numbers. Or like anything less than 3.
Anything greater than 3,
like
what? 4, 5, 6, keep going.
7, 8, 9.
Right. Would this be an open or a closed circle?
Open.
Close. I mean open.
Open. At 3. Would this go to the right or to the left?
The right.
To the
To
that
the
way.
right.
What do you mean by solution?
Numbers that are greater than 3. Now, for this one, let's translate it as is, and then we'll talk about switching it.
No, just numbers that are greater.
How would you read this?
X is less than or equal to
As is. As
Negative
is.
is greater than or equal to x.
And then to find the solutions for that, it's best if you switch it around. So x is less than or equal to -8. I'm going to write that out in words too. You don't have to.
Wait, what did I say? Is greater than what? Or equal to X?
So if this is the same thing as x is less than or equal to negative 8, what would be some solutions? Negative 7.
No, negative
No,
9.
negative 9, negative 9, negative 10, keep going. Negative 8 is also a solution.
Ah.
Would this be an open or a closed circle? Close. At negative 8. And would this go to the left or to the right? So now when we are actually graphing our inequalities, we're thinking about how we graph lines. So take a second, read this to yourself.
You found it?
You found it?
Did you put it in your
Did
cupboard?
you check in the recycling bin?
Yes, I said
I think
Yes.
it was my
Guys.
recycling bin.
Yes. Okay. So for when we are actually graphing our inequalities, we are graphing them as if they were just regular lines, but there are some differences. So if we have if it's strictly greater than or strictly less than, we are going to make this a dashed or dotted line. You'll see what that is here once we actually do it. And then if we have greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, this becomes a solid line. So that's like all the lines we've ever drawn. They were all solid lines.
Oh, dash is like bing, bing, bing.
Yeah.
Bro, why do you guys laugh at everything I explain?
Kobe,
I mean, that was a good. I knew
turn the
what you were
volume
talking
back.
about.
Thank you.
Like, y'all laugh at everything I say.
Guys. Okay. Now for this part, anytime you have a greater than or equal to symbol, you are going to shade your graph. You're going to shade above the graph.
Why is this? I don't see. Why do you guys see a board?
Because that's what inequality graphs look like. Now, if you have something that is less than or equal to, you're going to shade below the graph. So that's what changes an equation to an inequality.
Will this be in geometry?
Inequalities in different ways, not graphing. Alright, so before we even do the graphing part, let's fill in these three things. The inequality says that y is, what is this symbol? Greater than or equal to, so that's what goes in this first blank. Based on what we were just told, will we shade above or below?
Above.
Above because
It's great.
it's greater than. And what type of line will we use? Solid because
It's not.
it's greater than or equal to.
because it's greater than or equal to. So eventually these words will go away, but these are the questions you need to ask yourself. Does the inequality will the inequality make this a dashed or solid line? Will we shade above or below, based on whatever the inequality is? So we're gonna start graphing this like normal. How would we start graphing this?
Oh shoot.
Y-intercept. Start at your y-intercept of 6. And then your slope is negative. What directions could we go to get a negative slope?
Negative.
Down
Yeah.
and left.
Down and right, or up and left as many times as possible. So up to left 5. And then as many times as possible, or down 2 and right 5 as many times as possible.
So how come it's not down and left?
down and left are both negatives, and two negatives make a positive. Right.
So how do you know if it's
You can test it. Because if it's right and up, those are positives. If it's down and left, those are negatives. So in this case, because it has a solid line, you are just going to draw your line like normal. And then because it says we're shading above, this may help you to draw arrows above the line to show you where to shade. And we're just coloring it in. You could draw lines, you could draw a fancy design. I'm just going to do that. Don't take too much time with the shading though.
Is it 5 to the side and then 2 down?
It's down to right. You always go up or down first.
Brown and clothing is really possible. I didn't do that when I did.
Okay. Do we have questions on this?
okay? So how do you know if they're both negative? I'm confused on that.
Down and left are negative
How
directions.
would you know which way to go if you don't know if it's negative or positive?
Down and left are both negatives. Up and right are both positives.
Oh, so you see like if it can go that way? Oh, okay.
I have a question.
Ask it.
We're shading everything above sticks.
We're shading everything above the line. So everything above that line gets shaded, not just above 6.
So
Some more. Yes. So
Right.
everything above this line.
what does it say down there? Like greater than or equal to? Oh.
Okay. Let's try number 2. Now, before we can tell, is this a greater than, is this a less than, we don't know that off the top of our heads because this may change. So don't assume. So we don't know the answer to this. We don't know if it's going to be less than or greater than to see if it's going to be shaded above or below. The only thing we know for certain is that this is a strictly less than or it will be greater than, which means it will be what type of line? Dash. Because this will not magically become an equal to. That doesn't happen. Just like if it was an equal to, it won't become a not equal to. Okay. So in order to determine is it less than or greater than, we need to solve this. How would we solve this?
Get what? So
Get y by itself, subtract 4x. Alex, you were about to ask me a question.
what? No, it wasn't those.
You said so. I thought you were going to ask something. And then divide by -3 to everything. What happens when we divide by negative? This sign changes. So now we have y is less than positive 4/3 x minus 4.
Yes, of course.
That's why I said don't assume. Sometimes it will stay the same, but not always. So the inequality says that y is less than, which means we'll shade above or below. Below, because it's less than. And then we can graph this just like we had before. Start at -4. We now have a positive slope, so what directions could we go to get a positive slope?
Up and right.
Up and right, or
Down and left.
down and left, as many times as possible. So up 4, right 3, as many times as you can. Or down 4, left 3.
Didn't we do something like this already?
Yes, we graphed lines already. We just didn't graph inequalities. Okay. Now, because this is a dashed line, I'm just going to put dashes in between these dots. The most important thing when you're doing a dashed line is don't connect the dots. Because if you do that all the way through, you now have a solid line, you change the inequality. Yes.
How is y less than? Because isn't the sign pointing to the line?
In this one?
Oh.
So if this is shading below this line, draw arrows if you need to show what below would be, and shade below that line. If you need or want highlighters to shade, there are some up here. Yes.
So is the y-intercept -4?
Yes. Right. Do we have any questions on this one? We're going to do one more example together. Go down to example 3.
Oh, now we have to write that page.
Right. The inequality, but yes.
Yeah.
So now this is already graphed for us. We need to figure out how to write this inequality. Well, we can find that by looking at a couple things. Is this shaded above or below this line? Above. So that tells us what?
Y is larger.
What do you mean it's above?
Yeah.
It's shaded above this line, not below it. You have to
you understand how it works?
visualize it.
No, Josh, I don't.
You have to kind of visualize it. Like, if you're looking at the line, it's either going to be above that line or below it.
Like, there's more on top. Is that what it's saying?
Like, this area is on top of the line. Okay, so we know it's greater than. Is this strictly greater than, or is it greater than or equal to?
Greater than.
How do we know that? Because of the dashed line. So it's just greater than. So right now we know y is greater than, and now we need to find our slope and our y-intercept. So find 2 points on this line to find your slope.
Isn't the y-intercept 6?
It's 8.
8. Oh, that's 8, yeah.
It's negative. Yes. Yes. Okay. So even though it was graphed for us, we can still tell what type of inequality based on what direction it's shaded and the type of line, and then we can find our slope and y-intercept from it. Questions on that?
Where did the 2 come from? -2.
You're finding your slope. So find 2 points.
So it's 2 over 1 and then just
Negative
simplify it.
2 over 1.
Wait, can I just put negative 2 over 1?
Put just negative 2. These should be simplified answers. Okay. I want you to try you try it on the same page. And then once you do that, I want you to go on to the next pages. Do 1 through 10. 1 through 10. I will say that for 3 and 6, you're going to need Hoy books to help graph it. Okay?
Wait. how
Don't
would you go
move
above
from
or
your
under?
seat. Just work at your seat. And I want you working on the you try it on this page and the next 10 problems.
Wait. Oh!
I didn't look when I go to Jasmine and throw it away.
Does anyone have any legs?
How did she accidentally throw it away?
Does anyone have any legs?
2.7.
.9. Hey,
I don't know.
does anyone have .9 lead?
Wait, you said
He's checking the downgrade.
Wait, you're doing a shit to the
I thought that Josh.
Somebody had to have solar.
Stop. This is your honor.
Samara, you stole it.
You go be that one.
Okay, no, we're good.
You have Josh.
Oh my god. Anyway, what were you saying?
Josh, have a seat.
Tell me when I'm on.
Alright, eyes and ears up here. For the you try it example, your graph should look similar to this. Now, I did not put dash marks in between my dots because my pen is thick and I would have connected the dots. But if you did, that's fine as long as they did not connect. You should have got this was less than, below, and dash though.
I thought it goes above.
Not for this one. It's less than, so it should be below. Okay? And then for 3 and 6, you needed to be thinking toy bucks. So what type of line will number 3 be?
Horizontal.
Will this be dash or solid?
Dash.
Dash at -4. And then for this, will it be shaded above or below? Below.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
For number 6, what type of line will this have?
A dash. No. Solid line.
It'll be vertical and solid at -1. Guys, stop talking. Yeah, stop. Now, for all of your x is greater than whatever problems, you need to be thinking what numbers would be greater than or equal to -1. What numbers would make that true?
Hey, what was it? Sorry.
What numbers would be greater than or equal to -1?
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So that means all of these, that entire right side will be shaded.
Yes. Slay queen.
Alright? We will continue going over these next class. If you did not get pictures of the solving inequalities because you need to finish, you can do that now and then go back to your seats.